Was there any degree of that story that was meant to be a sort of commentary on the fans who don't see Miles as a real Spider-Man?
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. The idea of like canon and the
Rules and who rules, gets to be.
And Spider-Man, is it definitely is like a character that is owned by the audience, but some of that audience takes it so seriously and is trying to enforce and restrict. I remember when Miles Morales comic book first came out, there were people who were rejecting Miles as a character, for their reasons, not how we think it should be. And we wanted to talk directly to that and actually almost stick it to that mentality of, no, anyone can wear the mask. And if Spider-Man is a character that is owned by the entire world should be represented in that character.
Now, as you can imagine, those gentlemen got absolutely roasted on Twitter. But that's okay, because they don't really care about the customer and they don't really care what the peasantry think. They only care about the Lord. And the Lords are the investors. BlackRock, Walt Disney, the ones that are Tsuyoi, the ones that have the power to penetrate the cabinets and change society. But all jokes aside, Spider-Man, at least the one that matters, does not belong to the world. It belongs to Stan Lee. Without Stan Lee, you wouldn't have a character that is so popular that is now capable to put food on the table of those people. Spider-Man made a journey around the world. Even people from secluded tribes in Africa probably know who Spider-Man is, and that is because of Stan Lee. These individuals do not own Spider-Man. They just got an IP that they don't really own themselves. It's the company that owns it. And now they're in front of a camera spewing progressive talking points that I'm pretty sure the company puts on a screen in front of them to recite. Now, what does Stan Lee says? Well, he says that Peter Parker had originally been black, a Latino, Indian, or anything else, then he would stay that way. But we originally made him white. I don't see any reason to change that. It has nothing to do with being anti-gay or anti-black or anti-Latino or anything like that. Latino characters should stay Latino. The Black Panther should certainly not be Swiss. I just see no reason to change that which has already been established when it's easy to add new characters. I say create new characters the way they want to. But this is the problem, Stanley. These people cannot create. They are incapable of creativity because they are part of a corporate establishment. The corporation, first and foremost, would not allow them to create. And the corporation would not hire creative people because they think outside the box. And when the mouse cracks the whip, it doesn't want people that think for themselves. It wants people that do what they are told. When you had Gina Carano, which thought a little bit too much for herself, that was too much female empowerment, a little bit too much thinking outside the box, so they had to get rid of them, even though the force is female. So this is what's happening, right? Nobody expects that Walt Disney is going to be able to create anything new, so they're just taking stuff that works, they're taking the formula, and they're trying to change a little bit. They're changing the package. They're changing the skin coloring, because that's easy to do. Anyone can do that. And then they use outrage in order to sell their stuff. Right? Hey, don't you want to stick it to the new people that do not like the new package? Then give us the money. Give us the cash. That's Walt Disney. Now, what's interesting is that they choose to wage war on the fans. Now, the word fan starts for fanatic, which is the person that's most likely to actually purchase your merchandise and advertise your product. So a person that legitimately, let's say, loves Spider-Man is going to purchase Spider-Man t-shirts, he's going to purchase Spider-Man key rings, and he's going to purchase the Spider-Man board games when they're available or whatever, right? And on top of that, he is going to spread the word. He's going to tell other people about Spider-Man. This is a much more important customer that you should cater to than someone who just goes, watches the movie, and then never talks about Spider-Man ever again. Of course, both of them are customers, but one of them is more invested in your brand. So what does Walt Disney decide to do? Well, they're going to attack the actual fan. They're going to attack the actual person that will spend the most amount of money on the product, because they do not need the word of mouth anymore. They do not want positivity in the movies that they make, because they know that the movies are bad and there's not going to be any positivity about them. So they want the outrage baiting. They want the outrage click. They want people to talk about social media in the context of social justice, racismus, misogynismus, transmorphismus, like that's what you want to talk about when discussing Spider-Man. They don't want to talk about, hey, like, did you know that Peter Parker got new powers? You don't know. They want to talk about, hey, did you know that Peter Parker got cocked by his girlfriend? What do you mean? Like, cocking is actually a noble aspiration. Like, so what if they added cocking in it? It is part of the human sexuality. How can we progress as a society if we do not embrace the cocking? You know, like, this is the type of conversation that Walt Disney and their investors want you to have on social media when talking and discussing about Spider-Man. Everything needs to be about the cock and the pussy, the sexuality, the human nature, like the flag raising. Or, you know, that's literally it. And a lot of people are upset that they're moving to manga, right? Because people want to discuss about something else. Like, we talked about this shit for the last 20 years or so. We're bored. Everything has been discussed. People already made their mind. Some people just want entertainment. Like, some people just want... Like, notice, and this is very interesting, and I have yet to hear a single person that's left-leaning give me an answer to this. Why is it that when anime does LGBT things, or when anime has a protagonist that's a person of color, why is it that there's no controversy? Like, allegedly, the people who watch anime are like far-right, Christian, evangelicals, extremists, and yet they don't seem to care whenever a character in an anime turns out to be part of the LGBTQ community, or they end up being a person of color. I've never heard any complaints. Not once. Why is that the only time people complain is when the West does it? I've yet to have this question answered for some reason. Also, I remember when Miles Morales was introduced, it was 20 years ago, and do you know who was complaining? It was left-leaning people, and they were complaining that they didn't make Peter Parker black. Right? They were, like, people weren't complaining that Miles Morales is black and like a new person is getting the Spider-Man costume and he's like another Spider-Man. They were complaining, it's like, but why does the original Spider-Man still exist? Right? Because it was about replacing the heroes. It wasn't about adding something new, because when you add something new, you give people a choice. Like, they can choose which comic book they prefer to read. And sometimes people make the wrong choice. But when you change the original superhero, which is what they did for a lot of them at the time, people would go and they would see the Avengers, and then when they would go back into the comic book store, none of the superheroes that they saw on the big screen were there. Like, all of them were replaced. And that's what they wanted. Like, they wanted to take away things and take away the choice, because this is what the rainbow capitalism, as people call it, is all about. But anyway, right, let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will find you in the comment section. Take care.